Welcome everyone to Football Friday, presented by Football Addicts Anonymous. Mark and I are back together.
First time in a long time. Feels good.
Yeah.
We'll see how many times I go in and out.
And we are 3 days. It is draft week. Happy draft week, guys.
Yes, happy
Great
draft
to be
week.
here. Excited for Thursday night and our other special on Wednesday night as well, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. Chris already posted on Instagram, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so FCS playoffs. They were pretty good.
All over the board.
Other than that, not a lot of news. We'll get through those couple things, and then we'll play our favorite Monday show game. Talk about what we're doing this week, and then talk about draft night. So let's get into the game recaps here. Starting off, a game that did not think it was going to be this close. Number 2 seed Sam State moving on, beating number 10 Monmouth 21-15. Tony Muskett through the game-sealing interception. And I forget which guy was the one that caught that. I feel like it was Jalen Thomas there, but I'd have to check to be sure. But yeah, Eric Schmid, not a good game at all.
You started off with quarterback ending, sealing it, and I think that's where this game starts and stops, if that makes sense. Sam Houston State doesn't roll because of quarterback play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up and has a better game. I think they get separation, and it's not this close.
Well, the play-by-play doesn't tell you who intercepted when, so I don't know which guy it was. But yeah, I mean, I was scared for, the parlay that I had while this game was going on, since this was the first one of the day. No other games had really started or were close to ending. And I was like, I looked up early and I was like, oh, Sam Houston State's up 21-0, got it in the bag. This was at the end of the third quarter. They were up 3 scores. Don't do anything on their drives in the fourth quarter. Monmouth comes back. They get an 8 on the first touchdown, 7 on the second. And then I'm like, oh, Lord. Sam Houston State's giving them the ball back again. And they're going to go down and win it because they got that 2-point conversion on the first touchdown. Luckily, Bearcat defense held and moved them on.
You can't win ball games with your quarterback play like this deep in playoffs. But let's say that it gets better. I think that it tested their defense, which will bode well for them if they can get, the offense rolling in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking over the team stats here for this game, and Monmouth controlled the game there. They had almost double the possession. They had 39 minutes to Sam Houston's 20 minutes. So Sam Houston's defense really showed up in this one to be able to stop Monmouth from scoring any points pretty much.
Yeah. Held them to punts every drive except 3 in the first half. The other 2 of the other 3 ones, they turned them over on downs, and 1 was Muskett's first interception there. And then, like I said, second half, they held them to all punts until the fourth quarter. And yeah, but I mean, great showing by Monmouth, I think, against the number 2 there. And yeah, the guy, like I said, the guys that usually produce for Sam Houston State on offense didn't do much at all, other than Ramon Jefferson. The thing about his 95 yards rushing is 56 of it came on his touchdown run. So, But yeah, Jaquez Ezzard, their leading receiver, really didn't do much at all. He ended up with only one catch for 6 yards. And he also threw one that was incomplete. But yeah, I don't think they're going to go far unless Eric Schmid plays like he was in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible that Monmouth didn't win this game because I'm still looking at all these stats, and Monmouth pretty much doubled them on everything. Except, like, the turnovers were the only thing that Sam Houston won on because they didn't turn over the ball at all. And they had the 2 interceptions. So it's just crazy that this game turned out the way it did.
Yeah. But Sam Houston did move on to the second round.
No.
Monmouth covered plus 11 under 63. All right. Next game here. First 4 games are all 4 of the seeded teams. So number 3, James Madison taking down number 11, VMI 31-24. Another one. Very close. To be this way. More able to lead M2 to it in this performance.
About VMI playing in tough, in our opinion, at least my opinion, I thought the season went tough, schedule even that's important for I mean, it's 50 times the
running game. Matt Johnson.
Seems to be having some technical difficulties here. All right, there we go. We got you back.
Yeah.
For now, it might happen 50 other times.
Yeah, so I didn't hear a single word you said about the JMU game. I don't know if the computer picked it up or not, but I didn't hear a single thing you said.
Well, yeah, I was still recording, so did a little bit. But yeah, let's get the screen shared again here and go back. So yeah, Cole Johnson did not perform up to expectations in this one. Like I said, that was my question on Friday. Will Cole Johnson be able to lead JMU to a championship? And he's lucky that his running backs bailed him out in this game, beginning the game with Jawan Hamilton, or not beginning the game, but beginning the scoring. Jawan Hamilton ran for 99 yards and a touchdown, sparking his 171-yard day there.
What I was saying was I believe if Seth Morgan, if he doesn't throw the 3 INTs, let's say he goes for 1 INT, VMI, I think it wins this game, in my opinion. JMU had a great running game. Even VMI got things going on the ground. It's just those 3 interceptions. You're throwing more. I get that. But our what I was saying, what we were talking about on Friday was VMI, I thought, played in a tough SoCon. I think there were a lot of good matchups, league play, and he throws 1 less touchdown, definitely 2. I think they win this game, whether it's by a field goal or a touchdown.
Yeah, I definitely knew this one was going to be a close one, based on how VMI has played this year. But yeah, like you said, Mark, if VMI didn't have those turnovers, they probably could have won this game.
Yeah. Another, just like I said about Monmouth, I think is another good showing, even by a losing team, especially for VMI. Their first ever FCS playoff appearance, only losing by 7 to the number 3 seed and the number 1 ranked team in FCS rankings. Jacob Harris, though, he is a freaking star. And luckily, he's only a junior, so he's coming back next year. Him and Seth Morgan, I believe Seth Morgan's a junior too. No, Seth Morgan's a freshman. Okay, so yeah. We'll have Seth Morgan and Jacob Harris again next season.
Not that I'm condoning this, but what's unique about VMI is it is a military school, but they're actually not enlisted in the military. So if Jacob was to graduate, he could transfer to another school, whether that be like someone like Penn State that they might need some help. I don't know. Georgia. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not advocating for that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, also for Antoine Wells there for JMU, his stats just Juan Hamilton's kind of inflated. His touchdown was a 62-yarder from Cole Johnson there. 5 interceptions. There they all are at the bottom. JMU's James Carpenter, Torres Carroll, and Wesley McCormick. VMI had Ethan Castleberry and Kaiser Samuel as the interceptors.
I guess that is I'd have to think you're 100% right, Rusty. Running game's 100% the difference in this game. Because even JMU had 2 interceptions. So
yeah, and that's what Cole Johnson's issue was early in the season, especially their second game when they played Robert Morris. He had turnover issues. Had turnover issues in the third game as well, against Elon, where they only won by 3. They had gotten it rolling the last 2 games that they played, and then coming in against a tough Keydette team there. So Percy Agi Obise there, he is great as well. VMI covered plus 18 over 46. All right. Let's go to the number 4 team seeded team here. Jacksonville State, Roland Davidson, 49-14 here. Zion Webb not having to do much in this one. Really, the running backs did a lot for him. Uriah West, Josh Samuel, Pat Jackson also scoring twice, once on the ground, once through the air. And yeah, it was a nice little walkthrough game for Jacksonville State and the Gamecock. And yeah, Davidson didn't get a lot going in this.
It's incredible to me, though. The one thing that stands out to me, they must have been doing very big, chunk plays here, because Zion Webb only completed 9 passes, but still got 239 yards.
Well, one was the 55-yarder to Pat Jackson there.
Guys, the 2 takeaways from Friday was, can Davidson get to 10? I said they'll get to 10, so they got to 14, right? And I said they need to channel their inner Steph Curry. Well, that's what Jacksonville State did. They just had big chunks, long yardage, like 3-pointers, scored and walked off the field. Said, I'm done.
Well, I'm just trying to see here. what some of their big plays were, but yeah, 67 yards. That was one of Zion Webb's 2 carries. Was 67 yards. And then he ran in one for a touchdown.
I think for me, though, is like, yeah, if you have the stats up, like both quarterbacks threw 15 times, right? You would think if you're down a lot, either they're scoring fast and you have the ball a lot. So what was the time of possession?
Well, I was just about to say that. It's incredible. Davidson held the ball for 42 minutes.
Wow.
And Jacksonville State only had it for 18 minutes.
And scored 49 points in 18 minutes.
Yep.
And are you looking at a bunch of – were there a lot of fumbles?
There was – no, it was all Jacksonville had all the turnovers. They fumbled once and they threw an interception. Davidson didn't turn the ball over at all.
See, that's a remarkable okay, if any coach saw that, you'd be like, what? It was 49-14? That's just talent on the field sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't replace – if I can't keep you in front of me and I can score in 2 seconds, doesn't matter if I – not 2 seconds, but 20 seconds. It doesn't matter if I hold the ball long or not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, I'm looking at the drive charts here. Jacksonville State, like I said, first touchdown they had, Zion Webb ran for 67 yards. That was the first play of the drive. He didn't run it in for a touchdown, but he got down into Davidson territory. Second touchdown drive, which was their third drive overall, because the second one, Zion threw the interception there. But, I mean, their plays, Josh Samuel, 15-yard run on first down. They had a false start. Uriah West, 11-yard run on first and 15 there. 3rd and 3, they go 16-yard run from Uriah West. They have another 8-yard run. Zion Webb to Logan McVay for 34 yards down to the Davidson 6. They punch it in with Uriah West 6 yards. You know, these other ones, 13 yards on first down. 27 yards on 2nd and 35. They complete a 35-yarder on 3rd and 8. Go in, touchdown there. One play, 22 yards, touchdown.
That makes up for it.
Well, I just noticed something too. This is probably why they had such a high possession time too, is that Davidson ran the ball 64 times.
Yeah.
So that's going to make the possession time go up a little bit.
Which, if you're overmatched, you do want to try to run it more if you can get yards and control the ball. You know what I'm like?
Mm-hmm.
In basketball, if you're overmatched, you're not trying to play a game in the 100s because you're going to get beat, right? You're trying to win a game 48-47 instead of 198.
Mm-hmm. But Jacksonville State ran half as much. They only ran 28 times, and they had 20 more rushing yards than Davidson did. It was 222 to 202 in rushing yards.
Well, like I said, for a majority of their drives, their first play, they were getting 10, 15-yard runs. One thing, Jacksonville State only punted once in the game. Had 2 turnovers. All their other drives were touchdowns.
And that makes up for the time of possession. If you're not punting, you're scoring, that means you don't have to hold the ball. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And Davidson technically did have 2 turnovers, but they were turnover on downs.
Yeah. All right. Unlike the first 2, not a good showing for Davidson. Jacksonville State did cover -21. And Jacksonville State hit the over by themselves, over 45.
Can't beat Dakota teams, though, playing that way.
Just
maybe I'm wrong. They score that fast.
Their offense is very good. Zion Webb, Uriah West, Josh Samuel, those 3 together. And actually, I don't remember, a big-time receiver for Jacksonville State throughout the season. I just have always remembered their running backs. Yeah, I guess Jason Jones. Yeah, there's not really a
speed on that, but they use Petway.
Yeah, I don't know. So that might be an issue down the line. They don't have a star wide receiver, but when they're running the ball, with your iOS Josh Samuel there. And I was surprised. I was actually very surprised that Zion only ran it twice, because he's usually more of a dual threat, and I feel like he usually runs a lot more than that, at least like 7-8 times. But yeah, let's go to the number 1 seeded team here. Another blowout. South Dakota State Jackrabbits rolling Holy Cross 31-3.
We all called that one.
I thought there'd be a little bit more scoring though on South Dakota's part.
Not a lot of stats to go over in this one. Mark Gronowski didn't have to do a lot. He did score 3 touchdowns. This is a second straight game that I was surprised the quarterback only ran twice, because he is a major part of their rushing attack for South Dakota State. But Isaiah Davis did get it done on the ground with 156. The 2 quarterbacks for Holy Cross, not good at all.
If you can win a ball game, though, without getting your best player banged up, I think that's kind of how you go about it. Does that make sense? Like, they might have had 45, 50 points if he becomes that dual threat. But what if he's that dual threat and he gets a shot from Holy Cross and he's out the rest of the playoffs? I think that's kind of some of it. I mean, you do what you have to do to move on, right?
Yeah, definitely. Pierre Strong, also for South Dakota State, had a solid game. I just didn't put him up here. 13 for 76 on the ground as well. And the Yankee brothers, I think this is the first time all season we've had a South Dakota State game that both Yankee brothers have made it on.
2 touchdowns
because they both scored. That's the only reason they're both on, because otherwise Jackson would not have made it on. I would have just put Jaden as the leading receiver in the game.
Yeah, and I'm just going through the play-by-play right now, and I came across the last play in the first half there, when South Dakota State attempted a 63-yard field goal. Unfortunately, they didn't convert that field goal, but I wonder how close it actually was, because 63 yards is a pretty long way for a field goal.
Yeah. Unfortunately, South Dakota State couldn't hold Holy Cross at the end of the first half. Holy Cross kicked their field goal with 29 seconds to go. But yeah, I love the Jacks. Unfortunately, the book I bet at doesn't have a FCS championship bet available. So throughout the whole season, I could never bet on, the Jacks to win the FCS championship.
Well, he also bets on a book where they don't break your kneecaps if you don't pay. So I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I do believe, though, that South Dakota State is, they have the easiest path, first off, in being in the top of the bracket.
I don't think they win.
But yeah, I think they definitely get to the semis at the very least against Jackson State, most likely. South Dakota State did cover minus 24.5. Remember we were talking about that on Friday, and I said,
there's no way they're coming across the U.S.
I didn't know, dude. I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they can cover 24. I should have taken it rather than the other spread bet. I had the only spread bet of my 4-teamer, which we'll talk about next. But yeah, they did cover minus 24.5. Under 46 as well, hitting in this one. All right, let's go to the game of the week here. Ended up not being the game of the week. This is the second time, though. The second time that North Dakota State has done this to me, where I called it the game of the week. They did the same thing when they played North Dakota, and they just rolled North Dakota. They did the same thing against Eastern Washington. Number 6, North Dakota State, taken down. Number 9, Eastern Washington, 42-20.
We all know why.
What the hell happened in this game?
We all picked Eastern Washington because we thought they could score. And I said, anytime that we all pick it, We all lose.
But they were scoring.
They
I was
were.
watching it. I was watching the first half, and then I got sidetracked. I was watching the first half, and it was 20-7 EWU. And I was like, bro, we got it in the bag. We're good. North Dakota State has not been able to keep up, you know. And I was like, bro, what actually happened? 35 straight?
Unanswered.
Like, how does that happen, bro?
Eastern Washington just got too comfortable.
I mean, the thing is that Eastern Washington didn't have a chance to get the ball a lot, as you can see. The two freshmen there just annihilated Eastern Washington's defense, 163 and 143 for Ganella and Bussy there. Lupke chipped in a touchdown and 46 of his own. But I said that, though. I said the way to stop North Dakota State, it wasn't Hunter Lupke this time, but it was the other two guys. If you stop the running game at North Dakota State,
then you win.
Their passers right now at the quarterback position are not competent enough and don't have enough skills at this point in their careers to beat you consistently through the air. So this held true in this game, obviously.
Well, you know another reason why North Dakota State won? It's because Cam Miller started.
Yeah. They finally listened to me, I know. And I mean, I knew Cam Miller was the better player over Zeb Nolan, and you know, he finally got his opportunity and won the game, scoring three times. But yeah, again though, I don't know. I think if you just go into a 46 Bear defense, stack the box, play straight up man on the back end, make Cam Miller beat you, I don't think he can at this point.
It's just not impressive, the quarterback play. You can't sustain it when you go into other competitive. I look at the Eastern Washington quarterback play. Yeah, there was one interception, but if you give them the ball in the second half after that 20-7 lead more times, all they did is North Dakota State said, okay, I'm going to control the ball. I'm going to do some different X's and O's, and we're going to get on top of you. They didn't give the ball back to the quarterback play. You're going to run into a team that says, all right, fine. Then we're going to make your quarterback beat us. You know, they did the opposite. We're not going to let your quarterback have the ball back. Does that make sense? Where someone needs to say, okay, we're going to make your quarterback beat us.
Yeah, the running disparity was ridiculous. 422 to 64. But yeah, I mean, Eastern Washington got 9 drives the whole game. Same thing with North Dakota State. And the thing is, in the second half,
I mean, you're fullback. I mean,
they scored 3 straight touchdowns because it was 21-20 at halftime, North Dakota State. And but I mean, the thing is, so it went touchdown, punt, and then touchdown for Eastern Washington. They're up 14-0, 14-7, 20-7. North Dakota State goes down 20-14. And then, you know, I don't know why that says field goal because they didn't get a field goal. Yeah.
Let's all be honest. That place is a hard place to play. I've watched games if you're we're Football Addict Anonymous. I've watched games from beginning to end on, you know, ESPN3 or ESPN2 or when other people wanted to watch bigger games or baseball or whatever. It's a hard place to play. And even though coach, you know, you've had players cycle through, you've had 1 or 2 different coaches, but they're all successful. They all have the culture and the climate of winning. but they all make adjustments. I've seen them be down in games, go into halftime and totally go, okay, we're scrapping the game plan that we have, and we're doing this, this, and this. This is our strength. We're going to make them do something besides what they're doing, which is, successful at the time. And they switch it, and teams don't always respond.
Yeah. And I don't know. That thing that made me mad is I went with the stats over my head. Because in my head, I was like, well, North Dakota State, they've found ways to win this year, not scoring over 30 in most of their games. Quarterback play is not that great. Then I was like, Eastern Washington, however, they've scored a ton of points. Not really sure about their defense, but it shouldn't matter if you're scoring enough.
Mhm.
They can lose by 7 or less.
And then they score 42. The old adage, I've even said it on here, like the game's changing. You have to be able to score points. Well, defense can still win you ball games, boys.
But yeah, in my head, I was like, North Dakota State's probably going to win this game. But I was like, nah, not Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington had been my team. And the thing is Tololo didn't play. Or no, he did. 4 for 38. That's another issue, though. Best receiver only got 38 yards. Yeah, disappointing game. Thought it was going to be a lot closer. We'll see in the bracket here coming up.
I would say I'm not a prediction because I still don't think their quarterback play. I'm with you. Their quarterback play is just it's not what it's been in the past, and that's hard when you've had quarterbacks of their pedigree. But they're almost a game like this almost makes you go, man, they're going to win it all. But at the same time, their quarterback play is not where it needs to be because you still have really good teams out there.
Yeah, and they're going to have to face a really, really good team next week, which we'll see. Dom Jones there, the only interception of the game for the Bison. But yeah, North Dakota State covered -4 over 55 easily.
Oh,
all right. The only upset of the weekend came in the next game here.
Well, we called it though too.
I was gonna say this isn't an upset to me.
All three
number
of us
14, Southern Illinois, taking down number 3, Weber State, 34-31. Last second touchdown. Stone Labanowitz.
Was it not pretty?
Yeah, it was a great throw. Stone Labanowitz to Branson Combs there with 51 seconds to go. And I was actually kind of scared because I was watching the end of it, and I was like, oh, Bronson Barron's driving him down. He's going to get that field goal in. Didn't get close enough, unfortunately, for the Wildcats there. But, yeah, I did. Stone Labanowitz has some swag to him.
I thought about texting you, and I said, he's with his parents. He's checking out Marquette. I knew he would appreciate it, but I said, I'll let him have some family time. That throw was nice.
And I think the reaction, I think it was the offensive coordinator or head coach together. They were like, I thought after they got that, because they knew it. They knew the call was going to go to that back corner. But yeah, Avante Cox, this is the opposite of Washington. Avante Cox, SIU's best receiver, had himself a day, 6 for 120 and a touchdown there.
6th round pickup.
So
very nice one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good duel. Bronson Barron, not too bad. Had the 2 interceptions, but scored twice.
It's just one of those competitive games you like to see. Does that make sense? When we talk about Weber State, not having the type of competition that you see in other conferences, but they still put up a fight. It's not like they went into this game and got rolled by a Southern Illinois team that was definitely tested in the MVC. It was a game you could watch as a football fan, player, coach, whatever you want to call yourself, and go, all right, this is fun. Let's see how this plays out. And you walk away going, that's good football.
Mm-hmm. I called this one, though, on Friday. I said that Weber State, them playing these close games, is going to catch up to them. And, of course, it did. They were 4-0.
One or two plays.
They won 4 games by like 5 or less points or something like that, right? So I knew that those close games were going to eventually catch up to them. And a team like the Salukis was a team to do it. And obviously they did. But I'm looking over
your exact words Friday. Was that 1 or 2 plays and you could be 0-4 or 1-3 is what you said.
Yeah, but I'm looking over the team splits here, and this is about as even of a game as you can get here. I mean, the time of possession was only decided by 3 minutes. It was 31-28. They both had 2 turnovers. The total yardage was only separated by 21 yards, 443 to 422. They had 27 and 24 first down. So it was a really close game all the way around. But the Salukis just had that last second touchdown to win the game.
This is what the Super Bowl should have looked like if the officiating wasn't one-sided. Sorry, we're talking about football in the spring. Sorry, I got off track. Sorry, guys.
No, yeah. I mean, SIU had to come back, though. They were down 14 points in the early second, 21-7 there. Got it to within 4 at halftime, 21-17, and then took over from there, winning the third quarter, and then winning the fourth, actually tying in the fourth quarter. They got their lead in the third and never let it up there. Actually, they did technically, but had to come back at the end. But yeah.
What do you know? What year Stone is?
I believe he's junior.
So see him next year too. He's got some swag, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he's been a revelation because he wasn't the starter early on in the season.
Right. We talked about that.
Starters got hurt.
Yeah.
And Stone came in and has played very well. Even for a 3-loss team, obviously, like I said, Missouri Valley is tough. But also Nico Gualdani there, good throw, 3-yarder, touchdown to Cole Stewart. I did not see that play, unfortunately, so I can't really expand on how that play happened or what it looked like, or if it was a called fake kick or just a fire play. But that happened in the third quarter. That was the only score of the third quarter. So
I did not. I caught the fourth quarter, and that's about it.
Yeah, not much going on the ground for SIU. Daniel Wright there for Weber did add 91 yards and touchdown to go with 1 catch and 17 yards. Other than that, Mitchell Maxfield there, the interceptor for Weber. 2 corners, James Caesar and Jonathan Thompson for the Salukis. Southern Illinois Cup +5 and over 49.
One extra turnover, 1 extra interception has been a theme in the winter in about three games that we've talked about so far.
All right, Mark. I know you're gonna be sad on the next slide.
I told you guys that all. I don't think I picked Missouri State on Friday. I think
number 7, North Dakota rolling. Number 12, Missouri State 44.
Come to an end.
210. Tommy Schuster was fantastic. 2 quarterbacks combining for Missouri State. Nothing to really look at there.
That's just terrible numbers, guys.
Didn't help Missouri State that Hayden Galvin returned the ball 90 yards for a score.
You get beat in special teams. You get beat in the turnover category. You get beat in quarterback play. What else are you going to hang your hat on?
They literally got beaten
Yeah.
every single category, except actually.
Yeah, I mean,
here's a little bit of a win for you, Mark. Missouri State had less penalty yards. They were 4 for 41, and North Dakota was 6 for 74. So there you go.
both are bad. As a coach, I only want 3 and under. No. Yeah, I mean, that's good that you had less penalties, but geez, this is not a game to talk about. They got their butt kicked. Is there a better way to say that? I know that you have to press a button when we use profanity. So it was an old-fashioned butt whooping. But on real time, I would say old-fashioned whooping. That's just all it is, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a great game for North Dakota coming off a month of rest. They haven't played since they got destroyed by North Dakota State.
We were talking about that Friday, yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm glad that Tommy Schuster had the game that he did because I wasn't too confident in Tommy Schuster throughout the early part of the season. But, I mean, the guy that I do love, I've talked about him a million times, Otis Weah, short little dude. Had an okay game, a 5 per is really
that's
good.
Good. It's just
I mean, I just see 64 yards is not
a lot
that great, but yeah,
they didn't have to do anything. I guess. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They didn't have to do anything.
Bo Belquist there 4 for 88 and a touchdown. Garrett Mag is actually a guy to look out for. I thought he was more of a tight end, but they list him as a wide receiver when you click on him. So.
I'm surprised though that the possession time was as close as it was too, based on the score here. It was only 29:05 to 30:55, so under 2 minutes difference there.
That is really weird because you think that North Dakota would even 44 on that difference of time of possession is something. That's again getting beat by your talent and getting beat by turnovers. Can't blame it on the penalty because you just said that Missouri State won the penalty game.
But yeah, I mean, again, I thought North Dakota had a shot at the title early in the season when they took down South Dakota State. They still only have 1 loss. I'm not sure though at this point. I need to see what they look like next week. If they can win next week, I think then definitely,
Both of these teams are also really bad on 3rd and 4th down as well. Because Missouri State was 5 for 17 on 3rd and 0 for 3 on 4th. And North Dakota was only 3 for 11 on 3rd and 0 for 1 on 4th. So neither team did anything really in the 3rd and 4th downs.
That'll lose you ball games.
You know what's going to make the Missouri Valley Conference richer? With North Dakota State now, that makes 4 Missouri Valley teams into the second round. That is half. They have half of the dang playoff teams in the second round.
You're almost guaranteed at least one team in the semis.
Yeah,
almost. If I'm thinking,
that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, none of them are playing each other, right?
I mean, we already said out of the.
When I went to Missouri State, you had all the Dakotas, but Illinois State was pretty good back in the day too. When I was going to school there, Missouri State was terrible. Still,
Illinois State was all right to start the season. Then they started losing, and then they're like, "Nope, we're done. We're gonna opt out."
Even though Northern Iowa was the marquee, and the Dakotas actually joined NBC later on. My freshman year,
this was North Dakota's first year in NBC.
Yeah, the Dakota teams. And I mean, all of them were in different league in my freshman year. And then South Dakota, North Dakota came in my senior year.
All right. North Dakota covered -4 over 45. Luckily, Missouri State scored, and there you go. Got the over.
I didn't think they were going to lose that bad.
All righty, last game of the playoff first round here. Number 5, Delaware, taking down Sacred Heart 19-10. Another one.
Sacred
Very
covers.
close. Did not think it was going to be anywhere near this. Nolan Henderson, though, this goes back to quarterbacks, though. Nolan Henderson, not really anything. Marquez McCray had an absolutely terrible day for Sacred Heart.
He has a better day. They might win.
Yeah, well, I mean, Julius Chestnut is the heart and
Oh,
soul
my
of Sacred
gosh.
Heart.
31. Just give him the ball and let him go,
He
fellas.
did all he could for Sacred Heart, and just was not enough. He couldn't get help from all the other guys there.
There's a quote that I thought of in the first games, Houston and Monmouth and Delaware. We talked about Joe Flacco, the last quarterback, but we talked about Sacred Heart. We didn't know anything really how they would score. But, you know, Vin Diesel, I hate to say this, it's cliche. He has this quote in The Fast and the Furious. There's about 12 of them. But I guarantee it's the original one. And he says, you win by an inch or you win by a mile. Winning is winning. And that's what Delaware did. They found a way to win an ugly game, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of surprising for Nolan Henderson because he had played very well in their other 5 games. And especially a 7-point win over Villanova, which was their best win this season. You know, I just didn't think that Hart's defense was going to be able to stop Nolan Henderson. They have Therick Pitts there at wide receiver. You know, the running backs, Dejon Lee had a horrible game, only ran for 35 on 13 carries. Corey Spruill also did not do that much, did better than Lee, though. It was 12 for 52 on the ground. So, yeah, Sacred Heart's defense really held the ground game, and I think that's where Nolan Henderson felt one of the defense.
I know we went back and forth on the over and under on this one.
Yeah.
But I'm again looking at the team stats here, and everything points to Sacred Heart should have won this game. They won in almost every category, pretty much, except for the turnovers, which that's the killer right there. Like you said, Mark, before, that extra interception is what killed them.
And yeah, this game actually did get close. I mean, it was 12-7.
Yeah.
What really mattered in this game, though, was the safety Delaware got. Was a bad snap while the punter was in his own end zone, was way too high.
Was it out of the back, or did they tackle?
Yeah, no, it was out of the back. He got it, he touched it, he tipped it, but it was right on his fingertips, and it kind of fell back, bounced like 1 or 2 times, then went out.
Because I saw it. I did not get to watch this game, but I saw the score on my phone, and it was 12-7. And that was the first thing that I thought to myself was, there's no way. I don't care if it's the first quarter, even in the first, if it's 12-7, this game's not covering the total points.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the biggest thing in this game was, Julius Chestnut and the Delaware running backs not doing much. That was, the announcers kept talking about that. They probably had the same graphic up, Chestnut versus Dejon Lee, probably at least 3 or 4 times during the game. But yeah, that man's a workhorse, and he is the driving force behind the Sacred Heart offense, and he is a junior. So interceptions here, 2 for Delaware, Kedrick Whitehead and Noah Plack. Arsheen Giles there for Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart covered easily, +20, under 44. So, there is not an updated top 25 as far as I saw. There might be, because I checked it earlier in the day, and there might be one now. Let me just check. There is not. I don't think so. No. Which I kind of didn't expect there to be a new top 25.
No.
With the starting. I was, like I said, I was surprised last week that they had one, but I guess that was the end of regular season poll.
Yeah.
So I guess they might do one at the end of the playoffs like they usually do in college after bowl season in FBS.
I mean, if they did have one though for this week, I might finally get my wish of Weber State getting knocked down a little bit. But
yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if the stats poll comes out with an end of season one, just like the FBS does. But we don't have a new top 25, but we do have a new bracket update. I know it's really small.
We should pick winners.
It was, what I could
mean,
get.
that worked out well for us on Friday, but
So next round now, we have in the top left, South Dakota State. They will host Southern Illinois, another MVC matchup there. Number 3, James Madison.
Ooh,
They are hosting North
that's going to
Dakota.
be saucy.
The bottom left, we have Delaware heading to number 4, Jacksonville State. And then North Dakota State will head to Texas to play number 2, Sam Houston State.
North Dakota has a good
I think 3 out of these 4 are pretty solid games.
I think they're all solid games.
I think they're going to be fun.
Chris,
Okay.
I feel that in my mind, you're thinking the Delaware Jacksonville State game is not going to be that good.
Yeah, I think. Well, maybe not that good, but I just think it'll be the worst of the 4. Let me put it that way.
I can see that.
I
mean, Delaware's defense is good, but Jacksonville State's pretty good. And it's at Jacksonville State.
I think the best game is going to be James Madison
and
North Dakota. The most
Yes,
interesting game to me is North Dakota State, Sam Houston State, because what teams are we going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to get Sam Houston State that only scored 21 against Monmouth, or are we going to get the Sam Houston State that scored 71 on Nichols State this year? Also, North Dakota State, are we going to get the team that scored 42 on a high-flying Eastern Washington team, or are we going to get this team that consistently was scoring in the 20s throughout the year?
I think the most unknown game is actually the South Dakota State
Mm-hmm.
and Southern Illinois because they're conference foes, and it could be decided by a field goal or 2 touchdowns, 20 points. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
20, whatever. Because they're conference. Like maybe someone got a good read on them and you have a different game plan, or maybe it just plays out. I think that's the most. If I'm a bettor, I don't know, like you're better in the group, but I don't know how you would even bet that game.
Go for it. Because I've been very surprised by SIU's in Louisiana 55-48, and now they win in a high-flying 30-point affair, 34-31. And, South Dakota State has been able to score as well. I just think in order for the Jacks to win, Mark Gronowski's legs are going to have to come into play a lot more against a very good Southern Illinois defense. Like I said, they've been high-flying games the last 2 weeks, giving up a lot of points. But before those 2 games, they were holding people.
Right.
They held Northern Iowa to a minuscule amount of points. They, beat North Dakota State when they were the number 1 team in the nation. So, yeah, a lot of interesting games. We'll talk more about those on Thursday night.
I think this is exciting.
And they don't have the schedule out either yet, so I don't even have
It's
time.
like basketball, but football. Come on, Power
Great
5.
analysis there, Mark.
Get a tournament going.
All righty. NFL news here. Not that much going on at this point. I am very confident in the fact that we will have a litany of news bullet points by the time we get to our rescheduled show from Friday to Thursday this week.
100%.
We might even have to do a news segment on Wednesday. Who knows, Chris?
Mock draft Wednesday. Are we doing it?
About that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. So
bullet point, though.
first one here. Vikings corner Patrick Peterson. He is the first player that I've noticed, anyways, to come out on social media and say that he is wearing a single digit this fall. He will be wearing number 7, which is the number he wore while he was at LSU.
Yeah,
I
mean, I don't mind that situation with him changing his number because he is going to a new team and all that. So as good of a player as he is, I highly doubt that there was a lot of Patrick Peterson Vikings jersey sales. And so
I thought he looked good.
I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal that he's changing his number in terms of the fans buying the jerseys, but I'm waiting to see a player that's established on a team to change their jersey, see how much of an outrage that stirs up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think corners look that great as single digits. I think safeties. Now, safeties, I think, look fantastic in single digits, i.e. Tyrann Mathieu at LSU. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about corners wearing singles.
When I think of this, I just think about Mike Hughes. He's been through a lot of injuries. I coached him in high school for 2 years in basketball. His future with the Vikings is coming to an end, I believe. I think so. They got a lot of. I mean, I know he looked really good his first 6 games as a rookie, and that's why they drafted him in the first round. ACL, but then he had his neck injury. They've added some people. I think he might be someone that could be on the move or released to save cap space. I know that's not the news, but that's what I think about when I think of the Vikings. To me, Peterson's going to look weird in the Vikings uniform no matter what. Great career with the Cardinals, in my opinion. Return guy, great on defense.
All right. So let's get into some draft stuff here, some of the rumor mills. So first thing here for the draft, the Niners. What are they doing at 3? They apparently still don't know. But apparently it's between Mac Jones and Trey Lance. Everyone was floating that it was going to be Justin Fields. And now we're back on the Mac Jones bandwagon.
Are they playing something? Are they playing a card to make someone think or not think?
Well, I mean, they have essentially the number 1 pick.
I've heard it. I've heard it's all up to Kyle Shanahan.
That is kind of what John said today. He said he's the decision maker, but he'll defer to Kyle Shanahan because he's the play caller. So whoever he wants, essentially, John Lynch will draft that guy.
And you don't always have that I don't want to say communication, but you don't always have that relationship, partnership with your GM and coach. And I think that's what's unique in San Francisco. I think that's also another thing, having a player in Lynch that is a GM, and having Kyle Shanahan, who's been around we all know he's been around the NFL 1,000 times because of the family that he comes from. And I think a lot more, I'm not trying to drag it on any longer than we have to drag it on, but even in the college realm, that's what teams are doing. You think about college basketball coaches that are now taking over, like Roy Williams retires after, 60 years in basketball.
And they don't call Mark.
Get out of here. If Hubert Davis was an alumni, he's played in the NBA, right? And he's also been on a bench. I don't know any other model that you want to go to besides someone that understands the NFL and understands the relationships of your players and the play calling to say, hey, Kyle, I'm going to make the pick, but 90% of that is going to come from Kyle Shanahan.
Trust me, I know all too well how GM and coach butting head doesn't work out.
I mean, Andy
Howie
Reid
and
leaves.
Doug, i.e. Howie and Doug.
Andy Reid leaves for Kansas City.
Well, that wasn't Andy Reid.
The fans don't like him. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I mean, as a Jets fan, I feel your pain there, Rusty. We haven't had a good combination in probably at least a decade, maybe longer.
Is it really the GM? Not to interrupt, but Was it more your owner or your GM? Because even your owner got into it.
I think Jeffrey Lurie is fine.
Yeah.
I think it was Howie and Doug Peterson didn't like each other. That was the issue.
But he still won a Super Bowl, and he's still gone. Wow.
But, I mean, Jeffrey Lurie is part of the problem, though, because fans have been saying this for a while. Why is Howie Roseman still the GM? But that's the thing that people don't think of is that it was literally only a couple of years ago that they won the Super Bowl, and he had built a winning championship team from the disastrous crap that Chip Kelly had made the roster.
Oh, man. What? Chip Kelly, he's a godsend.
Yeah. So, yeah, people got to remember that about Howie. Anyways, I would say that speaking of Howie and, Howie likes to maneuver, Howie likes to be a trader, talking to every team. He's not going to be in on this trade, though. I already know that because I have nearly the money to be in on this trade. But teams have been calling the Falcons about Julio Jones. So one thing that is a stipulation of this trade with whoever would want to get Julio, you're not going to be able to trade for him officially until June 1st. That is the, cap deadline there essentially for cuts. So it's if the Falcons trade him after June 1st, they save $15 million on the cap. Massive amount of savings there. If they trade him before June 1st,
oh God, no!
It is a $23 million cap hit
with him playing
for them.
Else. Oh man, guys!
So
how do you stomach that?
Yeah, obviously the trade value is not going to be as much when you trade him after June 1st.
What if they just let him go? Same.
I'm not sure what the release would cost.
Oof.
I'm sure it would be a cap hit
in between
for both.
Yeah. Oof.
But yeah, I mean, at this point though, what do we think is kind of compensation wise for Julio? So let's just say it's post because there's no way the Falcons trade him before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because he does still have that large cap hit to whatever team he goes to. He probably still has a large price tag. I don't know his exact numbers for his contract and all that, but I mean, I even regardless of who he is or who he was or whatever, I don't think he's going to get a big return.
Well, my question, I mean, I know that, and I actually think this is what goes on in just like, at least not like when you call another team, but let's say Chris, Rusty and Mark all work for the New York Jets because Chris is a New York Jets fan. You look at a player like this, let's say that we blindfold the cap hit, right? My question first is, what do you think Julio is talent-wise? Is he good enough that we can give away a second rounder, or has he aged where, I'm going to offer you a third rounder and a sixth rounder? Because 3 years ago, like, he's good enough to get you. How many times do you have to play Carolina to get 300 yards in one game? Twice for him, like dang, man, like he's that good.
Once.
But he's,
300-yard game. I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Well, he was knocking on twice because he was knocking on the door again against him. But what I'm saying is, like, now, let's blindfold the cap space. I think Julio Jones is worth a late second round. Well, then you throw in the cap and you're like, oh, no, dude, I'm only giving you a fourth rounder and a sixth rounder with that price tag. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think his market is also pretty limited because of his age and everything. I don't think that he's going to go to a rebuilding team, kind of like what your example was, us being the Jets front office. I don't think a team like the Jets would go after him because
established team. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to go to a contender if they do end up trading him. So, I mean,
let's say I'm Aaron Rodgers and I hear that he's on the trading block.
Yeah.
Don't, like, I can't tell you to do whatever with your draft picks, and it's going to be a big cap hit. And I know the NFL usually doesn't send money, but in my opinion, like, hey, I'm going to send you a 3rd rounder and a 6th rounder, and you send me some money to offset it, and I'm throwing to Julio Jones, and you just made Aaron Rodgers happy for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen because that's not the way that, baseball trades and NBA trades work totally different. You can throw in more cash and put a value on this trade, where the NFL is like, man, we have 7 rounds. We can't really put values on draft picks, and here's your cap hits, and that's it. And that's why I think he doesn't have I actually don't think he has a very big trade market. Does that make sense? Like, I really think that he's a great target still, even at his older age, but not for the price hit. Like, they're locked into a contract. In my opinion, you can barely get out of that contract. Am I wrong? Right?
Well, the 3 years remaining on Julio's contract. Granted, I don't know exactly how much is guaranteed left, but he has a cap hit of $15.3 million in 2021.
God dang.
Lowers. Actually, I think this would be the last year of his guaranteed money. That's how it looks like the setup is. So 22 and 23 are both 11.513 million.
But if it's not guaranteed, and we've seen people do they get really creative in the NFL. You come in, I want you to be under 193.75 pounds. You come in at 192, and I can offset your contract into a signing bonus. So can you do that? And that's where I don't understand. That's why I'm not a GM, obviously, or a finance manager or operations director for contracts yet in a professional league. How do you offset that money? If I can offset that money into a signing bonus, I'll give up a 3rd or 4th rounder for Julio Jones. Would you guys not?
Well, that's the thing that I've kind of been surprised that we haven't seen happen. I guess because the NFL doesn't want it to happen. Because we had the Brock Osweiler trade in 2017 where the Browns essentially bought a 2nd round pick.
Right.
But, we see it, especially the NHL trade deadline was a couple weeks ago. And we saw a bunch of teams, specifically the San Jose Sharks, got in on a couple deals where they just took salary for 4th round pick.
Right.
And, I'm surprised these trades that have happened, Carson Wentz deal, massive cap hit for the Eagles. If the NFL would have allowed them to include a 3rd team that has cap space to take on half of that cap hit.
Oh yeah.
The Eagles could have signed someone else.
Baseball lets you do that.
Yeah. All the other leagues let you,
People will take minor league players to offset. Yep.
They'll let other teams take money for draft picks, but the NFL, I don't believe wants to let that happen at this point.
I guess long story short, because we've been on this for a while and maybe some people know what we're talking about or don't. I guess my opinion from you two that I would want, let's say cap space, we don't even worry about the cap hit. What do you think Julio is worth nowadays? If you're trading him straight up, is he worth a 3rd rounder? Is he worth a 4th rounder? Is he good enough for a 2nd rounder? He's never been great. He's a big body, but they covered him with who they had in Atlanta, and people say he's always should have caught more touchdowns, but he's still a big body. He's had some drop rate. His drop rate has increased over the last few years. I'm not, as a GM, I could care less about your name. It's what you could do for my offense.
Well, see, kind of going based on what I was saying before, he's most likely his market is pretty much all contenders, which means the draft picks are all going to be late round or later in the rounds, probably in around the 20s of each round. So
if you're Baltimore,
that's another thing you got to take into consideration too.
If you're Baltimore and you could get him for a 3rd rounder, yes or no, Chris? How about that?
That would be around the 80s, I think, in the picks. So yeah,
they have the 27th in the 1st, so it's
yeah. So
do you think you can get a better 3rd rounder for Julio Jones? For let's say you want him to have him there for 2 years. Does he supply you for 2 years, or do you think he has 1 year left?
I think he's got 2 years at least.
To me, that would be, and I'm not saying it can happen because we all know what Baltimore's done with their front, defensive line, and they just traded to Kansas City with all those draft picks. And I wouldn't trade those draft picks, but I actually think that's a good destination. Like they're a contender. Lamar Jackson needs someone, and everybody talks about needing someone downfield. Well, no, he just needs an established receiver that's big enough to plant his foot, go on a route, and say, get the F out of my way. I'm catching Lamar's pass, whether you're in front of me, behind me, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of what the price is, any team that trades for him is getting a Hall of Fame player. So
100% right.
My only issue with Julio is that
catch more touchdowns.
Yeah, doesn't have enough touchdowns. He has the most yards per game in NFL history, 95.5. So
exactly, you use him to get down the field, and then you have another player for a red zone threat that you throw to.
You win by scoring touchdowns, but that's also as a GM a leverage point. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a little less because he doesn't score touchdowns.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing though. You think of how big Julio is, and you would think he would be a major red zone threat, but he just does not have the career touchdown numbers of a guy that you would think.
But that's another
that big.
That's another bad contract in the Falcons organization for another discussion.
Let's phone in Jack to talk about his
All
Falcons.
Right, guys. I'm always the one that makes us go longer than we should. I take that blame, right?
So
men make twins.
One more draft nugget here. The top 10 could get interesting. So there are teams apparently calling up into the top 10. Specifically, what I've heard is to get in front of the Panthers, because the Panthers and the Broncos are the wild cards. No one knows if they're going to take a quarterback or not.
It makes it fun.
So 3 teams that I heard mentioned: the Eagles, which is not for a quarterback. It's just Howie, like I said before, Howie calls, he's in on everything. He calls just to see, what the price would be to get up.
I mean, he's already made one trade so far, so
yeah,
he could easily make another one.
And now they have the picks, to go back up if they want to. Second one is the Vikings. That would be for an offensive tackle, most likely Rashawn Slater. The Panthers, again, are another team though that's looking for that could pick an offensive tackle. What I've heard from the Panthers though is that they like Sewell more than Slater.
I've heard that.
So, but they could blow smoke and say, yeah, I mean, we might think about taking Slater. And then, that would make the Vikings want to come up. So, and the third one here is the Patriots for a quarterback, presumably Justin Fields. That's what I've heard anyways, that the Patriots are locked on Justin Fields if they go up that high. So,
yeah, because I think that there's a good chance that Trey Lance does fall to the Patriots. So if they wanted Lance, I don't think they'd have to move. But it's kind of I don't know why I kind of just thought about it when you were talking about the Panthers and how they prefer Sewell. I know it's very unorthodox for it to happen because division rivals don't usually trade, especially that high in the first round. But is there a scenario where the Falcons might trade back to 8 with the Panthers, so the Panthers come up and get Sewell?
You know how I would construct that trade, actually? Since you brought it up,
I mean, actually do that. I would trade back.
How I would construct that trade,
you can get your franchise quarterback.
As far as the Panthers go. So I would say, all right, Falcons, we want number 4. We want Julio.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And we will give you
some money.
This year's first, number 8, next year's first, and this year's 4th round pick.
Got to get another pick in there. They would owe me a 2nd or 3rd round.
I was going to say a 3rd, but I switched in my head to 4th.
3rd, and I would do, because you get your established,
And that gets you your offensive tackle.
Yep.
You already have Sam Darnold, who you
I'm
traded
with you
for.
100%.
And then
We
you
are
have,
on the same rate
you have
wavelength.
Julio Jones, DJ
And I
Moore,
think the
and Robbie
Falcons
Anderson.
and I think the Falcons could get their franchise quarterback at number 8.
Yeah.
If that's what they want.
They would have the pick of likely Justin Fields or Trey
Well,
Lance.
that's the other thing why I brought up the Falcons too, because
And where is Justin Fields from? And where was the last time they really had a marquee player that packed the stands? I know that Matt Ryan has put up numbers, but the Atlanta community has never really embraced him. Boom. I think that's a great. Can we phone? Do you want to phone Arthur Blank or
Arthur Smith?
Well, Arthur Blank, the owner.
Yeah,
for the
I know.
Falcons,
I was
and
saying
then-
Arthur Smith, the
oh,
head
yeah,
coach.
yeah. And then I'll go. Who do you want to go? Owner or coach at Panthers?
I can get Matt Rule.
Okay.
He
all
coached
right.
at Temple. I almost went there.
All right. All right.
Connection.
but that's why I brought up the Falcons though, because they are also a wild card at 4, because there's been rumors about them wanting to trade back and stuff. And it was funny because I was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and they had a whole segment about the Falcons trading back, and they had all these mock trades. And one that kind of piqued my interest that I saw was a trade back with the Giants at 11. The Giants would be trading the 11th overall, their second round pick this year, a first next year, and Evan Ingram to presumably come up and grab Kyle Pitts.
Here's the thing that we were talking about on the podcast last time was like who has ever not traded back and who has traded forward. I'm all a believer in hoarding things if you get a ransom. Does that make sense? Like, okay, Panthers, I'm number 4 and you want to trade up. Well, I'm going to take this, and from you. And I still think you can get a good player and it's going to make us better in the long run. The only time that you see people like really trade up is if they just really hit on a player and it's a franchise game changer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like all for trading back. Especially if you think like this draft, in my opinion, is kind of weaker in some areas. Well, fine. If you really like your offensive tackle, well, you come up to number 4 and I'll trade back. Even if you take a player that I thought was going to be at number 8, I'll take the best available. And then you gave me 3 or 4 draft picks to be really good the next 2 years. Fine. All right. Especially if it's the same division. And that's the hard part about like the Falcons and Panthers.
Interdivision trees.
It's how many people in your division are really going to go, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple other things here. 2 retirements today. Sean Lee, Cowboys linebacker Sean Lee, he is done after 11 years with Dallas.
Just couldn't stay healthy, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was great early on in his career.
Like
hit the injury bug and has never really been the same. I mean,
like anything in Dallas, and they're open to coaching possibilities. Keep it in the family. I mean, he was good when he was on. You can't deny that he wasn't good when he was on the field.
The other retirement today, former Cardinals and Steelers offensive tackle Marcus Gilbert. I don't know how many years he played.
I think it was 11 or 12 like Sean Lee.
Because I don't think that he was on the Super Bowl team. I don't think he's that old.
He was drafted in 11.
He wasn't on in 11? Okay, so he wasn't on the Super Bowl 3 team. Neither was he on the Super Bowl 45 team that they went and lost to the Packers because that was the 2010 season.
10, 11-year career.
Yeah. Or no, the Cardinals. Yeah. Packers was 2010. Cardinals 08. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, anyways, Marcus Gilbert, I was very sad when he left Pittsburgh. He was the right tackle for a million years, and they traded him for 6th round pick. So But yeah, two really solid guys retiring today, so good for them. The other couple things here, the Seahawks looking for running back help. They are working out former Texans third-round pick running back Deontay Foreman. Never really knew where he went after the Texans. I don't recall where he went.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was only with the Texans for 2-3 years after he got drafted in, I believe, 2017. So maybe it's 2018, I think, actually. So, yeah, Seahawks might be signing him. And also the last thing here that I have, the Bucks, they exercised the fifth-year option of defensive tackle Vita Vea. So
he's been around the league.
He's their next guy.
All right.
That's going to get a
shot
extension. So
not a shot extension.
Yeah.
He's played some football is all you can say.
All right. That is all the news for today. I hit my first Nerfy today. So we're 1-1 on the Nerfy train. If for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's no runs first inning. And yeah, great betting. Nerfy Nation is a real deal on Twitter. Go check it out, Chris. You need to hop on the bandwagon.
All right.
So it is time to play everyone's favorite Monday afternoon game. Would you rather? The 3 football-related ones all have to deal with the news segment. So the first one here, we talked about Julio, talked about possibly teams wanted to trade for Julio. And I was trying to think who was a comparison to Julio, and there's really not. That's in the league right now.
Calvin John. Oh, sorry, he's retired.
Actually, I shouldn't have gone Amari Cooper. I should have probably gone Devontae Adams. Just thinking about it in my head now. I don't know if we want to do that. Just imagine that's Devontae Adams' picture instead of Julio's. But the only reason I thought of Amari because they're both Alabama boys. So that's the only reason I thought of Amari. So, Chris, go ahead.
Well, wait, are we doing Amari or are we doing Devontae Adams?
Go with the picture on the screen. Let's go.
All right. Well, because I was going to say either way, I would pick both of them over Julio Jones. I mean, we already kind of went over all the things with Julio. He gets the yards. He does. But he doesn't score. For whatever reason, he can't score the ball. Amari Cooper, on the other hand, has been the epitome of a number one receiver with Dallas and in his first few years in Oakland as well. I think he's probably one of the more underrated receivers in this league right now. Because when you look at anybody's top 5 receivers, I don't know if he'll be on that list, but I think that he's had the numbers over the last few years to be in the top 5 receivers in the league right now.
Would you rather? The question is, at this point in time in their career or ever? And is that the question or right now?
It's at their best.
Oh, Julio Jones, hands down. He's a huge target. I love huge targets. I've seen what the Rams have. Why would you take little guys at the 11th pick and they fizzle out? Bailey, Tavon Austin, just things like that.
Tavon was 8.
He was number 8. Sorry, I said 11. I like big targets, and he hasn't accumulated the red zone touchdowns. But is that coaching? Is that not having another receiver? I know Roddy White has been there to teach him some things. things like that. Like, but if you know that your number one target is one guy, to me, like, isn't it easier to shut that person down? You put him on someone with a legit number two. You know, if for some reason Green Bay could get him, I just think that would be phenomenal. I know the cap hit is big, but that would be solidifying. Like, okay, we got Aaron Rodgers. This is our last glory run with Aaron Rodgers because he's going to leave because we screwed him over. I would try to get him if I was the Packers. He's a big target. He's caught balls. He's won games in colleges. He's given everything to the Falcons. Now, don't get me wrong. Amari Cooper's pretty good. I think he's underrated. And he's been successful at two teams, where Julio's been successful in one team.
Yeah, I would take Julio because I think Amari is kind of in his prime right now, in his mid-20s. But Julio at his highest point was – well, it kind of hurt him because Calvin was still in the league for a couple of years when Julio first entered. But, yeah, Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones were probably the two most dominant receivers when both of them were still playing in the league. But, yeah, I mean, Julio, obviously, we know, has fallen off, has had injuries. Amari has had more injuries, for one. But, yeah, Julio is just the most dominant receiver for a stretch of time in the NFL. And he was consistently – I'll even go to the fantasy route. He was even the number one fantasy wide receiver probably for three years, I would say, in a row. Him and Antonio Brown there in the 2010s. So, yeah, I think Julio, like I said, I don't like that he doesn't score as many touchdowns as he would like. But, yeah, Julio in his prime is a lot better than Amari in his prime. And Amari's on a –
maybe I just have a soft spot for Cooper, though, because he has been on my fantasy team in the last couple seasons where I have gotten the number one seed multiple times, but then we fall apart in the playoffs and lose. But that's not my point in the argument. I'm just saying, I think that's why I have a soft spot for Cooper there.
Why you pick Julio Jones?
Trust me, Chris. I know. I mean, in our dynasty league, bro, I got the whole Cowboys offense.
He does generate down the field, man. He generates.
Alrighty.
What's the next one?
The next one, like I said, all three of our football ones are
Patrick Peterson
related to the news. They're related to the news.
Let's do it.
Next one here. So we also talked about, the Niners. Who are they actually taking at 3? So I know we've done this I know we've done this with a couple of the quarterbacks, the top 5 quarterbacks, but I don't think we've done this comparison before. Who are the Niners taking? Mac Jones or Trey Lance? Who would you rather have? Mark?
This is an unfair question. Here's what I'm going to answer this according to the 49ers. I actually think that they have more of a Mac Jones on their roster right now. I know that he doesn't have a lot of reps at Alabama. He does look good. His receivers made him look good. But BYU is kind of known for taking San Francisco taking BYU quarterbacks like Steve Young. I mean, Steve Young was pretty good in college, but he wasn't like, hey, Joe Montana style. But they took Steve Young, and he panned out for him. I actually think Kyle Shanahan is very comfortable in himself. I'm going off the personality of the coach, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trey in a 49ers uniform. Does that make sense? I think that he looks at Mac Jones and said, okay, I've got Jimmy. They're both about the same. They can both get down the field. He learned under a Tom Brady. I'm going to take someone that can move a little bit more outside of the pocket. People aren't really saying yes or no on what he can do, but they know that he's talented, and I think he fits the game system of what I'm calling the plays.
Yeah. I mean, you said 49ers, so, got Bill Walsh and their history. I'm going to go with a different Bills mentality. Bill Parcells.
I think
His quarterback
really
thing.
Good.
He had a thing with quarterbacks. I don't know if you know, Mark. He didn't like quarterbacks that didn't have many starts in college. And neither do I, really. Trey Lance only had they both actually don't have a lot of starts in college.
They don't.
But when you look at them side by side, Mac Jones has played the harder opponents. He had a hell of a lot more better players.
I like his arm strength
on his team than North Dakota State had for Trey Lance. But I think another factor was Mac Jones he played this year. Trey Lance only played one game in 2020. So that's a long time to only play one game.
I did forget about that.
So, I mean, I don't know. I personally would go Mac Jones. I think he's the more ready quarterback. I think Trey Lance is a little raw for my standard. Trey Lance obviously is a lot more better. His mobility is a lot better, and he has a better arm too. He has a stronger arm than Mac Jones does. But I just think if the Niners are going to go, I know Mac Jones is probably not going. Whoever they pick is probably not going to start with day one because they've been saying the whole offseason we're keeping Jimmy.
I think is a good thing. Not to interrupt you or before Chris makes his pick. I answered it like what I think the 49ers, making it kind of drama. I would be more comfortable taking Mac Jones. Is that because my butt would be on the line at number 3? I don't know. I actually think I've liked some of his throws. I love that he's looked at Tim Tebow as a leader and competitor. But I'm not so sure that I wouldn't even do something at that trade. Does that make sense? Like, what if I have everybody's head in a swivel and I actually trade it because I like Jimmy G? Is that an option, or are they taking a quarterback?
They're taking a quarterback, and I
think they are, but
I don't think they're wrong whichever way they go because I think both these guys fit Kyle Shanahan's scheme very well.
I like someone that learns under someone too, whether that's Aaron Rodgers being good, Patrick Mahomes. I don't think you should start them in day one.
Chris, who are you going with?
Well, you guys both went with Mac Jones, right? That was your ultimate pick.
From a coaching standpoint, I actually think they're going to take Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think that the 49ers ultimately will pick Trey Lance too, and I personally would as well. I mean, Rusty, you said the point about how Alabama played better opponents, but Alabama is the best team in the country. So Mac Jones had the best receivers, obviously Devontae Smith winning the Heisman and all that this year. He had the best offense pretty much in the entire league. So the rest of the team made him look better than I think he actually is. And I forget who I heard say something about it, but Alabama has not produced a solid starting quarterback in the NFL possibly since Joe Namath back in the late 60s, 70s, maybe. But the other thing that stands out to me too is, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Trey Lance undefeated in his college career? I think he was, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I just think that Trey Lance had less to work with, so it was more about his skill set than it was for Mac Jones. And I think that throughout their college careers, you were able to see more of what Trey Lance could actually do than what Mac Jones could do.
Yeah.
I like it. You stand by that.
Mhm.
I was gonna say Trey Lance has also never thrown an interception, but I wanted to make sure, and he did throw one against Central Arkansas, whom they played this
Thanks a lot.
this
Thanks a lot.
fall. So,
God.
all right, the last football related one here for Would You Rather.
We got cartoons after that, or baseball, or basketball.
Our fourth one is always non-football. So, I forget actually what this one is, but we're gonna roll with it anyways. So yeah, Sean Lee retired today. So again, it was hard for me to find a comparison to Sean Lee.
I already know. I grew up on him,
and so the guy I thought of in my head was Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because Kyle Van Noy has not really been the best. He was obviously a lot better when he played for the Patriots, who he's going back to now. Yeah, I'd go Sean Lee. It's kind of biased because I'm a Penn State fan as well as a Georgia fan. So he was fantastic when he played at Penn State, keeping up the tradition of linebacker U. At Penn State. And, he was great early in his career. We already talked about it, but not so much in his later career when he had injuries. I still think Kyle Van Noy can turn into something, especially going back to New England. But, I would have to go Sean Lee at overall career to this point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at their stat, or at least Kyle Van Noy's stats right now, and I didn't realize that he played for Detroit ever. I don't know why. I just never realized that he actually played for Detroit in the beginning of his career. But based on his stats in Detroit versus when he joined New England, it seems like he was more of a system player than anything. He turned it on when he came to New England. And then we obviously saw this past season where he had an okay season, but nothing spectacular for Miami. So I don't know. I think he's definitely more of a system, but being that he's going back to New England, I think that he'll have the kind of season that he used to when he was in that New England defense. And obviously we talked about before when we were talking about Sean Lee's retirement, he was just too injury prone throughout his career. And I don't know. I would rather take the risk with Kyle Van Noy being in any system rather than take the risk putting Sean Lee out there and waiting for him to get hurt.
I'm going to go opposite of you guys, and the stats actually are against me. I would ask you what the record in Detroit was when Van Noy was there, because I forget he was even there.
I mean, he was there from 2014 through halfway through 2016. So 2.5 years.
So what I'm getting at is he's won all games wherever he went. When the Dolphins weren't supposed to be as good as they were this year, they were knocking on the door, right? And so I'm going with a guy that's a locker room glue guy over someone that I actually think is just a big name. How many Pro Bowls was Sean Lee in 11 years? 2, I believe. And he's a really good football player. He really is. Sean Lee is a really good football player. And he was really good at Penn State. I agree. And I would argue that Georgia they try to sell themselves as running back U. We have some good linebackers at Georgia, but Penn State is right there. They're linebacker U. But he was so injury prone that being on the Cowboys actually put him front and center. What if Kyle Van Noy was on the Cowboys? Would he get as much publicity as Sean Lee? That would be my only question. I think pure standpoint, Sean Lee is a better linebacker. But Kyle Van Noy has won ball games wherever he's went. 3 teams. Does that make sense? Like the the Lions, I think, made one wild card during that time. Then he obviously won with the Patriots, and he won this year. So I'm going. I'm an outside thinker, though.
Yeah. Sean Lee does have the individual accolades, like you said, the Pro Bowls. Then he was an All-Pro one year too. And Van Noy has not been elected to anything. So, yeah.
But you plug him in, he might be good at every team. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Let's move on to our last Would You Rather here. And going back to the hockey because my Pittsburgh Penguins are in the lead in the East Division right now after their 1-0 win yesterday over Boston. And actually the Mass Mutual East Division. I got to get the sponsor's name right.
This is easy.
So the Capitals are in second by 1 point. They do have a game in hand over the Penguins, and the Capitals actually do not play tonight. They play tomorrow night against the Islanders. Pittsburgh plays against Boston once again tomorrow. So who are y'all picking to win? You don't actually have to pick both of these. I was thinking about putting all four of the East teams that are in right now.
Know me. I'm never, ever in my life picking the Washington Capitals for anything Ovechkin. Go Gretzky. Go Blues. Picking the Penguins.
Because the 4 teams in the East, Boston's in fourth. They're 7 points back. The Islanders are 4 points back in third. And like I said, the Caps are 1 point back. The Caps and the Isles have one game in hand on the Penguins. The Bruins have 2 games in hand.
Never picking the Washington Capitals, whether that's it's like
are they playing a full season this year, or how many games they play?
No, it's 56.
All right, so the season's over next week then, pretty much, or in a few weeks. They only have like 7 games left, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedules and all that, but obviously Washington and Pittsburgh have been 2 of the best teams in hockey over the last few years. But I'd have to go with the current leader right there with Pittsburgh. I mean, like I said, they're the leader right now, so they have the advantage, being that they don't have to play catch up like Washington does. But I mean, the records are so similar: 32-14-3 and 31-13-4 for those 2 teams. So they're very similar teams. But I have more faith in the pedigree of Pittsburgh to pull through and win the division.
Yeah, and right now the Penguins are tied with the Caps for regulation wins, which is the first tiebreaker. They have 1 game up on the Caps in regulation and overtime wins, which is the second tiebreaker.
What's the point differential?
1. And like I said, the Caps have a game in hand on the Penguins. But the Penguins very massive games their next 3. They're home against Boston, and then they're at Washington twice to end that season series. Then they have Philadelphia for a back-to-back on next Monday and Tuesday, and then they have they're at Philadelphia for those 2, and then they have the Sabres at home for their last 2 games of the season. The Caps, on the other hand, their schedule looks like they are home against the Islanders tomorrow for 2, like I said, against the Penguins. They go to the Rangers twice, and then they have a back-to-back home against the Flyers, and they finish up home against the Bruins. So a lot tougher schedule for the Capitals than it is for the Penguins, especially facing the Rangers for the Capitals is going to be a tough out. They've been scoring a lot of goals. They're only 4 points back of the Bruins for that 4th spot. So obviously, I mean, I'm biased, so everyone knows I'm picking the Penguins. But yeah, I'm just saying. I was just trying to make the stats work in my favor
No
for my pick. So
Ovechkin and no Capitals for me.
all righty. So before I get into next week, this week we have Chris posted it on our Instagram. We have our show tonight, Wednesday night at 7:00. We will have our mock draft special that will be broadcast right here on YouTube. It is our one and only first round mock that we do. So obviously we've done division specific mocks for 3 rounds the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we will now do a complete first round mock. And I think if I find that website we had last year, we can do trades on that website. If not, we'll be on the mock draft network, or the draft network's mock simulator.
Who has
there.
final say if we disagree?
So well, we need to bring in a 4th person so we can divvy it up.
I'll be the only one that disagrees.
Divvy the 8 divisions up.
My voice doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, and then we will have on Thursday night, draft night, round 1. We will have our Football Friday show actually move up a day to Thursday. We'll have that at 5:00 on Thursday, and then draft coverage starting right after that. So we should have a little bit of time in between the show and the draft, depending on how much we talk about
your bets,
the FCS preview for the week. But yeah, next Monday though will be a good time. We'll be here. We'll have the FCS recap, everything that went down in round 2 of the FCS playoffs, and that's gonna be a long show on Monday.
It is.
Yeah, we got the FCS recap. We got the draft recap. We'll be breaking down all our favorite picks.
Order some pizza. Watch.
So yeah, it'll be a good time. And that is the show for today, y'all. Thank y'all for being here once again. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. We also have our website, faapodcast.com. Hit the little shop button in the top right and get yourself some cool swag. And don't forget to follow us here on YouTube and our Facebook page as well. Thank y'all. And we will see you
Rams.
on Wednesday.